Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sunday, February 6th, 2022, and this is the college basketball algorithm from yesterday. And that's the NBA algorithm. This is the college basketball algorithm from yesterday. There were 149 games yesterday. Can you believe it? So many games. So, I got some money this morning from Waddell. Waddell's the man. Waddell's funny. Waddell has been watching my college stuff and NBA stuff for a while, and he's cool. And he'll send me money every once in a while whenever he wants this. And sometimes he's the only one that does it every day. He knows he wants it. He's like, Ken, what's up? And I really like Waddell. Waddell's cool. And so I'm doing this for Waddell, but I also have other people I have to work for, a ton of other stuff to do. And also I got to get on the road. Like there's a million things I need to do. And something happened yesterday where my kid used up all my hotspot on my phone, so my internet is going to be slowed to 128 whatever kilobytes or megabytes or whatever it is. It's a small amount of data, and it makes it really difficult to do things like update the algorithm. So I have to do it when I'm on Wi-Fi somewhere, and everything's so complicated. I know I'm blurting out a bunch of stuff. Well, this video is about to get even weirder. So I have another problem I'm working on, which is full self-driving. That Tesla is doing. I know this is completely unrelated to algorithms. This is about the self-driving stuff that's going on, and your car is going to drive yourself. And Tesla's working on it, and Elon Musk is working on it. And they have a problem because when you're driving, when you have a robot basically driving your car, the awareness that it has to have about its surroundings is of a different level now. And I've got some ideas about how to solve that problem, but I also need to update these algorithms for Waddell and a bunch of other people. So here's what I'm going to do is I've already explained in other videos exactly how to update the NBA algorithm here. And I've also explained how to update the college basketball algorithm. But I still need to do it for Waddell. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to update both these algorithms. I'm not going to talk about it while I'm doing it. I'm just going to do it, okay? And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be talking about theory behind how to program full self-driving and the awareness of a vehicle, and really the awareness of an artificially intelligent information taking in bot, essentially, and a programmer, an algorithm, and how to do that in theory while I'm doing all this other work. And we're going to start right now. Okay, ready? So here we go. So yesterday's NBA scores. So when you are driving a vehicle, which I do a lot, I have probably over 1 million miles of actual miles driven in my life at age 42. And people who've driven with me can attest to that. And it's funny because people that drive with me are actually scared. A lot of you. I know you are. I've had a good friend of mine actually broke my mirror that is underneath of the visor mirror or whatever, broke it with his hand, punching the ceiling, so scared that I was going to rear end somebody when he was driving. He's a friend of mine from like 30 years. And he was seriously scared. And they're like, Ken, why do you stop so close to people in front of you? Why don't you hit the brakes? Why are you weaving around and bobbing in and out of lanes? Why can't you stay in your lane? I'm scared. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, it's just, I know. I'm like, I like to keep speed so that when people behind me that are driving poorly or tailgate and do different things, that I can react to them differently so that I don't get rear-ended. I'm like, there's kind of a philosophy to how I drive. And yeah, I know it looks really bad. And I mean, honestly, my vision's not good. I passed driving tests because my vision's good enough for a driving test with contacts and glasses, which I always wear, but my vision's bad. I mean, let's just face it. It's bad, and everybody knows it. So I have to do other things in order to be able to drive appropriately long distances all the time. Because, I drive across the country back and forth and each way in between all the time, and have been doing it for years. And so how do I do that? Like, what's going on? How come I don't get killed? You know how many accidents I avoid on a monthly basis? Dozens. I mean, I've been the car who has moved out of the lane and had the guy behind me who's texting hit the person in front of me at 90 miles an hour on 95, because I pay attention and I understand how different things, and we're going slower with basketball than we shouldn't because I'm talking, but that's fine. I will move out of lanes literally to avoid being hit, and I've had it happen just recently in bad accidents because I'm just so aware of everything going on, and I'm constantly scanning all my mirrors and taking little recollections of what I see. And the reason for doing that is so that when something abnormal happens really fast, when you completely know your surroundings, then you are able to make the appropriate evasive maneuver decision to avoid potential accidents and a whole bunch of other stuff. I mean, people try to change lanes into me all the time. Trucks try to run me into barriers all the time. And I avoid it because I see it coming before it happens. And so what I think we should do, and I think it makes sense to have the algorithms work like this, is we should take this kind of philosophy and apply it to the information that the vehicle is gathering as it's going across the road and have it pre-programmed to do certain things in certain scenarios and really give the algorithm a personality of how it will drive. So what that means is that you'll have different modes with which you can set your car. You can set your car in old granny mode that wants to go really slow because the world in front of them is folding. The information is coming to them in a slower rate because when you get older, sometimes your brain doesn't work the way it used to, and things look like they're coming at them faster even when they're not. I think that's my theory to why old people can drive really, really, really slow and not realize it, is the world's just not coming to them as fast in their brain. Well, when you're setting an automatic driving algorithm to monitor speed and to monitor all types of ways in which you could choose in which the way the vehicle travels, like you could set it on Mexican stunt driver mode, Mexican kid mode, as I call it, as I've seen it in Colorado on the 25, which is, I call them Mexicans. I don't know if they're Mexicans, but a lot of times they are. They like to race. What can I say? I mean, if we're going to generalize, they like to race. They like to lower their cars and race. So what they'll do is they will hold up the highway on the 25. Is like a few of them will slow down to like 30 miles an hour so that all the 3 or 4 lanes behind them are super slow. And then the 2 of them will, somebody will drop a flag and boom, they'll race for the next quarter mile or half mile of the drag race, right? And I don't know how many times out of 100 that results in a flying Mexican death, unfortunately. Probably about 1 or 2 times out of 100, if not more, because they end up running up on traffic, a quarter mile, half mile up the road that is going at normal speed, and they've got to slow down. That's probably where the accidents happen. Anyway, we're talking about crime and other things. But the point is you could set your automatic algorithm driving thing to drive it whatever way you would want it to. And well, then how would it act and how would you do this? And this is where I get into the more technical part of the coding here, which is, all right, we have to have a baseline of information that we have like a serious baseline of surrounding information from all sensors and cameras outside. And it has to actually form what I would call almost like a cognitive. It's got a sentient view of your surroundings, sentient, which would mean that it knows where it is. It knows everything that could be coming at it in a normal sense, like all the cars it's identified and the speeds that they're going, and whether or not you would have a flying Mexican drag race going on behind you. Because if you do have a Mexican drag race going on behind you, you need to react differently. Because I got hit last year by essentially an Iranian drag race, and I tried to move out of the way to the right, but I didn't do it fast enough to open up enough of a lane so that one of those kids tried to cut between me and another car and sideswiped me. And now, knowing that in the future, I've learned from that, I will get the hell over to the shoulder immediately whenever I see a drag race coming up behind me, because they're going to probably go left. Anyway, that's a very specific scenario, but that's the kind of code that you're going to end up having in this algorithm that's going to figure out how to self-drive. It's going to have awareness of everything around it and what it is that a tractor trailer in front of me? I know that tractor trailer is supposed to be in the right lane, but that tractor trailer's got a signal on and it wants to get around a slower one in front of it, and it's going to be monitored by its own system that doesn't let it go over 75 miles an hour, so it's going to have difficulty passing the other tractor trailer, and that's why they're going to be side by side forever. Maybe I should speed up and get by that now instead of normally waiting. There's so many different complicated scenarios, which is why it's driving Elon crazy on how to do this. By the way, we could just update college basketball right now and not do anything else like this. Just grab it. Could just put it right here. People who don't understand why it doesn't work, you got to pull the margin score down right here if you're still watching this. Now, we could just do this, and I could be super lazy programmer and do nothing else. And what happened? Here. And be done. But this wouldn't be the best. This would not be the best algorithm in the world. You could sue me. You could say, Ken, what the hell? Ken, you told me your algorithm is the best thing that's ever been created, and that's why everybody uses it. And I'm like, yep, well, I'm not done. Why? You know why? Health not done. We didn't update the injury report. So we don't know how healthy these teams are. So this is not done. But I'll tell you what. I'll do it for Waddell, and I'm going to send it to Waddell. But the rest of you, you got to pay for this. So now we're done with that. Let's go back to self-driving and talk about college basketball. So the algorithm that you're going to write to figure out your awareness and keep track of things around you is going to have to do things like look at road markings and stuff. But you're going to run out of road markings, and you're also going to have incorrect road markings. What about those lazy construction workers? If we're doing all these new construction projects and Build Back Better or whatever we're going to be doing here, if we're going to do all that stuff, then we're going to have a lot of new road markings on the road. Sometimes you'll have double road markings. You ever seen that? That drives me nuts. When they're doing work on the highway and they got like single yellow lines everywhere, you don't know where to go. And I was like, that's a serious problem. In that sense, the road markings don't mean shit. The road markings don't mean anything. And the only thing that matters is the cars around you and what they're doing and which lane they've decided to go in. Or what about when you're going through a green light and some idiot doesn't realize that the lanes are different on the other side of the green light and goes from the middle lane to the left lane and tries to push you into the median? You got to avoid that person too. And you got to anticipate what type of driver is going to do that. You should have this algorithm monitoring the personalities of the other drivers on the road. Uh-oh, scary. That's right. This Tesla you have probably it could check the license plate and then start to determine a personality about the person driving that car if you are following that person for a significant period of time. And it could load that into a database and then feed that to insurance companies or insure itself and know who the good and bad drivers are on the road, the more Teslas that are on the road. I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen potentially here, which is something we all can't avoid because I think we need to kind of accept that the monitoring of society, or at least the recording of society, is something that has just kind of happened. And it's because everyone's got a phone, and it's the funniest thing ever because people who are, mentally ill and think that the vaccines for the coronavirus or whatever have microchips in them that are monitoring them are hilarious because do you have a smartphone? That does a hell of a lot better job than any fake microchip you're coming up with in your head. That's a joke, right? It's so funny. It's like, all right, well, get rid of your phone then if you're not going to get the vaccine. If you're going to be reasonable and rational here, and worry about being monitored. And so anyway, the recording of society has just happened, and I don't think we can stop it. I mean, I'm recording right now, right? We can't stop it. And so if that's going to happen, let's do it right. Let's make the world safer, right? I mean, seriously. I mean, nobody's ever going to get away with a getaway crime again, though, because everything's monitored. But that's what'll happen. So the point is there's ways to approach the self-driving, and it's not the normal. It's not a direct, like, look at the lines, look at the stop signs, that's not actually the way we drive. And that's kind of why I wanted to record about this, was we drive, or at least I drive, especially when I'm driving for hours and hours and hours, is like, how do you do that? Like, do you attentively pay attention to the road at all times and be super anxious? The answer is Well, I had to do that when I was driving through a snowstorm in Tennessee. Hey, Waddell, I should have called you when I was in Tennessee. Stuck in Nashville in that snowstorm like a month ago. The what did I? No, I was super anxious when I was going over snow-covered mountains in Kentucky and Tennessee and West Virginia. I was, and I was really anxious. I had back problems after that because I was so tense driving and hitting the brakes all the time. But normally you're not. Normally, all the signals that you're getting from the roadway are confirming or validating your opinion that the road is safe, the road is clean, there are no impediments in front of me. There's not a deer running in front of me. Everything's good. I can see far. Everything's fine. That when that's going on, you can just keep the same speed and stay in the middle of the lane and not have to think much. And then you just scan your mirrors. I just basically scan your mirrors. So it's going to be a scanning process, and I don't know how frequency the scan has to take place, but it's got to get a confirmation on all of these important things. And it's also got to be in some type of backup mode plan. And there are going to be different backup mode plans for this depending on where you are. A backup mode plan of what type of evasive maneuver it would take if any different impending serious potential contact or potential impact events might happen, and what its evasive maneuver would be during that potential impact. So let me give you an example of this and why it's really important, why you got to put the vehicle in different states as well as its monitoring of its current state around it. So the state that you would put in, for example, in a normal situation when you're on a highway and you're going at speed, is get to the shoulder, either shoulder, away, and slow down. Right? Slow down at a reasonable slowdown, not slam on the brakes because you might skid. Something simple like that. Well, not every situation is like that. What about when you're in a snowstorm on a hill, right? Or in a mountain? Yeah, you can be in mountains, there are tunnels. What happens when you do that? And how do you, did I update all these already? Did you injury report? Yeah, I think I did everything. We'll find out. What happens when you're in a situation, when you're on a snow-covered hill? The answer is very different, meaning you have to actually know that you need to steer into a skid. You need to watch around you. You need to see past the roadway to see if you might go off a roadway, off of an embankment or something like that, and you change the way in which you would choose an evasive maneuver because you don't want to pull right over to the shoulder in a snowstorm. If a drag race happens behind you for some weird reason, you want to tap the brakes and slow down in your lane because you can't move over. It's a lot of different things. There's an infinite number of driving scenarios, and that's why putting the vehicle in different states of evasive, slowdown is really important. And that's why it's so complicated, but it's totally doable because everything that we do as humans is on a similar path of logic when we're doing it right. And so it can absolutely be programmed into a complex, heavily memory storage and processing unit, which I'm sure Tesla uses. And that's why I say it's going to turn into an AI, is it's going to be reading its surroundings around it with such a degree of sentientness or whatever, sentiency, or we'll come up with a word here that's sentient something, that is properly addressing what's going on around it. All right, that's pretty much a good idea of how to do that. Now, are there any good college basketball games to bet on? I don't know, but I think we're done. Any home underdogs? Of course not. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, do the odds makers use this to create the odds? Because we just built that independently, and we have no home underdogs. Why? Even though, you can see that there are other underdogs. There are these underdogs. Manhattan, Wyoming. It's a 13% margin against Canisius. And then look at how hurting Fresno State is. That's probably a really good pick. Because depending who's out on Fresno State, so you could also look in the injury pivot. So if you want to create slicers and stuff, you're still watching this for college basketball. That's hilarious. But all right, so you could open up a slicer here. This thing is a pivot table, which is why we had to refresh it, this blue thing. And it's got values and it's got stuff and it's what the field list is. And so if you want to look at the teams, the stream team name. We can create a slicer by right-clicking this, add a slicer. And I wanted to see, all right, well, Fresno State's injuries, right? Or we could just do this. There's a million ways to do this. All right, so Fresno State, there's a 56% Group 1 injury from previous, which means that it's these two guys, and they're probably good. And I don't know if those are, those people might come back and play today. We could look at that further in here and just see if we want to make this better or not. Like, is everything confirming this? Where's the team here? Fresno. Here we go. Fresno State. And undisclosed game time decision. That means he ain't playing, in my opinion. I don't know. And then knees are bad. I've always said that. Knees are bad. Like, knees aren't ankles. Like, if your knee's screwed up, you're in trouble. So I think those are substantial injuries based on what you know, which means that this pick's good, and that's a 13% margin for Manhattan. So that's kind of okay, too. In that sense, a little better day. And those are those two algorithms, and that's a basic way I would say to start approaching the self-driving problem, because people are going to make bad decisions and get in accidents too. Robots or algorithms or self-driving applets or whatever you want to call them are going to do the same thing. The point is we got to make them better, because they are going to be better than the worst drivers. They're going to, your Tesla's not going to allow you to do a Mexican drag race on 25. I'm sorry. It's not going to. Or it's going to report it to the police if you do override the system and do that. And you know what? I'm fine with that, because I want my Mexicans alive too. And so do you guys. Come on. And hablo español, there's no problema, maneje el coche muy rápido, pero cuando otras personas en el highway en el 25 en Colorado que morir. Like, I don't know. Nobody should die on the roadway because you do it in the middle of the desert, right? Colorado's kind of the middle of the desert, but not on the 25 and not post-rush hour. Come on. That's all I'm saying. Everyone, come on. All right. That's it, guys. Good luck, and may all your picks be winning.